Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Shit can get dangerous, yeah. Shit can get dangerous, yeah. You staying with a lame bitch, yeah. Well, I'm staying with the gang bitch, 'cause that's gang shit. Like, ooh, and they gon' stay by my side, 'cause them boys down to ride, yeah. Like, ooh, she tryna play with my mind, I can't be wasting no time, yeah. But them boys my wheels, got in my bag and I got out my field. I'm getting this paper, I'm stacking a meal. I'm with your hoe in the house on the hills, yeah. I'ma keep it real, had to sacrifice to try to get my bands up. Shorty wanna fuck with me, she see me on the camera. She say she in love with me, but really I can't stand her. She just want part of this life, 'cause she see me on the...
Hey everyone, today I present, What if Goku was the god of destruction of the DC universe? Part 2. Oh, you have some nerve showing your face here, traitor, surprised by the cold response to her presence and even more so to them knowing about the vault. How do? Look, I would love to answer your questions, but we need to get this guy inside before he dies of hypothermia. Move, traitor. And what'll you do if I don't move? You may not know it, but you have a prisoner of ours and I can't simply let you walk into this vault so easily. Turning to her companion, I'll meet you inside, I need to put this queen in her place, Doomsday nodded before walking to the door. Diana with her sword and shield drawn was ready to attack the monster, casually walking towards her. To her shock, he simply went around her and to the door. Feeling insulted, she yelled as she swung her sword towards Doomsday head. Ooh, I wouldn't do that, the armored being said before Doomsday moved. How dare you? Diana said until she saw it. During her swing, she saw the giant hand of the beast coming at her sides, aimed at her shield. Gritting her teeth, she felt the impact send her flying across the cave and into a wall. She held her scream as she looked at her arm badly bruised and her shield broken in just one hit. What is this? I can barely stand just one punch, she thought while she dropped her broken shield to the ground and began crawling out of the hole in the wall. I guess I don't need to do anything, thanks, big guy, the monster grunted before looking at the door. The door itself stood taller than the monster, with strange marking decorating the entire surface. It had a blend of futuristic technology and very ancient magical origins, with a floating black orb hovering above the doorway. A bright light filled the cave as it scanned Doomsday before the black orb turned into dust surrounding him. Scanning DNA. Scan complete. Final check. Soul scan shall commence. The monster narrowed his eyes as the dust surrounding him came together, forming a mirror showing himself. Soul presence confirmed. Soul identity confirmed. Welcome, Lord Ultimate. Please wait, a system verifies other presence. The woman in armor stepped forward as the system repeated the same steps and after a minute of confirmations revealed her identity. Welcome, Lady Grail, the God Killer. Hey, she smirked, making the giant monster roll his eyes. A bright dot appeared on top of the door before racing down, created a line before spreading open to make a triangular door of white warm light. Before they could walk through, they heard the sound of Diana climbing out of the hole she was thrown into, her arm throbbing in pain as she walked towards them. I'm not done with you, she said, annoying Doomsday. Not wanting to listen to her, he walked through the light. Grail took off her helmet, showing her face to Wonder Woman. The Queen of the Amazons could only stare in mild surprise as her features resembled that of Darkseid. Grail shook her hair, combing back, the side of her head shaved, and the hair she did have was cut short so she could put a helmet on easier. Opening her eyes confirmed what Diana was suspicious of. They glowed red, just like the god himself, just waiting to unleash her power on her next target. Now Diana, I know we Amazons love to fight, but this is one of the rare few times where you should drop the sword and go back to the sorry excuse for your leader, and yes, my father is Darkseid. I know that look, she said, smirking. The glow in her eyes got brighter. No self-respecting Amazon would ever lay with such a creature, so stop lying, she said, tightening her grip on her sword. Yeah, I know. Too bad mother died a while back, so we'll never know why she did. Spread her legs for my father, she said, chuckling, but I do have something to say to you. They stared at each other, the smirk on Grail's face gone. You betrayed Kakarot. Diana gave a small flinch. He opened his home to you just like he did for us. You then decided to steal everything inside just so you could please the alien. Angered by such an accusation, I did not do this for Superman, I did it because there was a chance I could secure a safe world for mankind. No more fighting, no more crimes, and no more evil. Grail laughed, throwing her head back. Still so naive, hang on to those ideals. Your world is about to get a wake-up call. No one betrays our Lord, so expect a final judgment. When Kakarot returns, her eyes began crackling with red energy. Now get out of my sight, you pathetic mortal. In a great display of power, two huge omega beams shot out of Grail's eyes, racing to Diana, who could do nothing except raise her bracers to minimize the damage. Unfortunately for she forgot about one detail Grail and her father share. She can change the trajectory of her beams at will. Diana saw the beams make a sudden left before slamming into her side, sending her flying to the exit, screaming in pain as the beams burned her side. The beams pushed her into the ground, making a huge trench. Feeling the searing burn destroy her sides, she passed out from the pain in a giant crater a few miles away from the cave. Smirking again, I should just finish her. Her eyes began to glow again, ready to finish off Wonder Woman, until a giant hand covered in spikes appeared from the portal and grabbed Grail by her head. Ow, ow, let go, damn it, ow, 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 ow. She screamed as her head was squeezed and she was pulled into the portal. The portal turned off and the door opened to reveal nothing inside except a cold and forgotten base. In the cold snow lay Diana, barely hanging on to life, her body burned and armor broken. She'll live though, she has to pay for her mistakes. League of Assassins. Hidden deep in the mountains, Nanda Parbat, a group of people gathered in a chamber surrounding their leader. An old man who has been alive for too long. His tired eyes were lit up with a fire many thought had been extinguished since Superman had taken over his world. His glowing eyes stared at an object sitting on the ground, his head filled with whispers of the possible person he hopes is inside. Ra's al Ghul, the crowd gathered, spoke. For too long we have hid in the shadows, watching that alien tell us what we can and what we cannot do. The son of Kakarot even sides with the Conqueror when he should be against him. The crowd of his loyal followers stayed quiet. But now, we have found evidence of where our Lord had disappeared to. He has been missing for some time, but he, unlike the alien, he has given us a chance to grow and become something greater than what we are. They betrayed our Lord and we believe he has been sealed in this vase. You can hear the whispers, right? It calls to us to release our Lord from his prison, to free him so he could rain his final judgment on those heroes who have failed too many times. Smirking, he thought this entire situation was ironic, assassins seeking help to stop the powerful regime. It's time to reclaim our world, my fellow believers. He walked to the object, his two daughters nodding to him as he passed. The vase looked to be nothing special, just a simple design with a note attached to the side written in an unknown language. He removed the note and took a few steps away from the center. Nothing happened for a few seconds, making the followers look at each other in confusion. Then it happened. A small crack appeared, smaller than many would realize, but the light coming from it could not be missed. Roz smirked as more cracks began to appear on the vase and began shaking as if something was finally escaping. Everyone watching backed away in fear as the light became brighter and shaking intensified. The vase exploded, showering the whole room in light as a voice screamed, hurting everyone's ears. Once the light faded away, it revealed the body of a green alien dressed in a uniform of some kind, and right next to said alien was a body that was covered in blood and clothes torn to shreds. Immediately recognizing the injured man with the familiar hair, Roz signaled his guards to move in and help. The green alien saw the masked figures moving to them in a slow fashion. He quickly raised his hand, aiming at the humans. "Stay back." A purple ball formed in his hand and fired, vaporizing one of the guards. The others quickly pulled out their swords. They stepped back as another ball formed in the white-haired alien's hand. "Stop. Put your weapons away and get back." The guards quickly jumped away while putting their swords away. The alien quickly looked at Roz with his hand still raised. "Wait." He yelled quickly, explaining, "We are not your enemies, we freed you from your prison." The alien quickly looked at his hand holding the seal written in the mortal language. His eyes narrowed as he slowly lowered his hand. Roz gestured to his fallen ally, covered in bruises and cuts from what seemed to be a bad fight. The alien himself seemed no different, as his uniform was torn but no visible injuries could be seen on his body. We can help him. It would seem Lord Kakarot is losing too much blood. If we don't help him he could die. Roz saw the green alien in front of him flinch at the name he said. He would like to ask later once he healed Kakarot. Then heal him, he said. We need to put him in a pool. It'll heal his body, but I do not know if it'll make him younger. Seeing his questioning gaze, he elaborated, the pool can revive the dead and make them younger. I have used it multiple times to continue to live with no other choice available. The alien nodded. Roz signaled the guards again. They rushed in with a gurney and quickly rushed Kakarot to the pit. They were shadowed by the alien as they entered a room containing the pool that had brought Roz back to life many times. The guards carefully placed Kakarot down on the ground, allowing Roz to walk to the body. The green alien remained quiet as he watched the human lift the body up and walk into the green pool. Looking around the room, he thought to himself, look at us, relying on mortals to heal us. How far have we fallen? The old man gently sunk the body of Kakarot into the liquid and stepped away. The alien watched, waiting for what the human claimed to work. Hopefully it did, because once his other half recovered, they were going after that scion. Mindscape of? I lost to him. The being could feel his rage growing, the memories of his last fight playing back into his head. On repeat for who knows how long, the voice laughing at him. That bastard's voice echoing in his head again and again. Pathetic. Even as a scion you are still weak, ha ha ha. That smile was burned into his brain, his laugh creating unmatched hatred. Even with all the power you gained, I still am better than you. His red eyes were-eyed with amusement as he brought that old man with him. Unfortunately our fight is over. The two of you have shown me how little you understand mortals. No, even when they fused they were still outmatched by one man. The gods, defeated by a mortal. No. He wasn't a mortal anymore. No, he stood with the rest of them as a god, surpassed all of us without anyone noticing. Old man, seal them away. I want them to think about what they've done for a long time. The small human with the sunglasses nodded before performing his technique. His other half screamed as he was dragged into their prison, followed by him. Too weak to fight it, he was trapped in eternal darkness, unable to tell how long it had been. The being's anger reached a new height, higher than any other emotion he had ever felt. That bastard trapped him, to suffer while he laughed the whole time. He has to pay. Feeling his energy racing back to him, his power growing past the limit he had reached before. Laying in the pool he shot up screaming to the heavens, his power coming out like a tsunami of unbridled rage. His hair exploded into a vibrant pink with red electricity crackling around him. The roof of the base exploded outward, sending debris flying everywhere outside, and a huge beam of light shot into the sky like a beacon. Everyone close enough to see could hear the voice of one man screaming a name, the name of the god who locked him away. Kakarot. Zamasu had returned. So it's an email? A man asked, looking at the man typing away at the giant console in front of what looked like an email for their vehicle's extended warranty. The man was wearing a black and yellow uniform that stuck to his body like his own skin, his eyes covered by a yellow mask hiding with a glowing yellow ring on his hand. They stood in a command room in one of the most defended areas in the world. A building formerly known as Wayne Tower was now the symbol of the regime. Back to the conversation. That what it looks like, but last I checked we don't get emails on the base's own network, the man, or what was left of one, said, his only normal eye narrowed as he stared at the screen. His armor glowing as he tried to scan the mysterious message but was failing with each try. Oh, so it's like one of those click here to claim prize, then all of a sudden your computer is being blown up by a bunch of ads. The former Green Lantern Hal Jordan spoke. Exactly. I've tried to scan this thing for the past hour and I can't get any location on who sent it or the business that actually exists with that name, he said after seeing nothing but errors. I can't believe this, I'm actually getting a headache, he muttered. I wish I could help, but I'm more on physical problem solving, he grinned before his eyes widened. Oh. We can use my ring, he said. You do know I am more advanced than your ring, right? Cyborg said, pointing to himself. And yet you still can't explain my powers, he said. Now stand back, maybe I can get something useful, Hal said as he raised his ring. Ring Scott, a hand swiftly grabbed his wrist, putting it in an uncomfortable grip, the hand belonging to the Man of Steel himself. Listen Hal, last time you scanned something we had to put down some alien super weapon, he said, releasing his grip. Scoffing, he shook his hand. I know what happened last time, okay, it wasn't my fault, he said, rolling his eyes when he saw the looks Superman was giving him. We are not getting into this again, he said, crossing his arms. Their attention was brought back to Cyborg sighing in frustration after another failed attempt. Victor? Superman asked. I got nothing from the 1,000 scans of this email. Clark stared at the screen showing an unopened email. Then we don't bother anymore. The other two people stared at him in confusion. Isolate it on a laptop and secure all access points into our network. Eyes widening, Hal got a smirk while Cyborg got to work moving the strange email to a smaller pad and cutting the entire room from the network. Placing the pad on a table, they took a step back. Inputting some commands, Victor spoke. All right, opening the junk mail. They watched the cursor spin before the email opened, showing a smiling family in their car driving. Below it was details on current deals for insurance or how much their warranties cost. Hal scoffed as he strolled up to the laptop. I don't know about you, but this looks like a normal Earth-like email. He turned his back, missing the static distort the images. The other two saw. Get back, Hal, Clark ordered. Hal quickly looked back to see the family no longer smiling but looking at him with hollowed blue eyes and their faces becoming more distorted. Taking a few steps back from the shaking laptop, he quickly put up a barrier around his body as he flew above the others. Cyborg transformed his hand and Superman simply crossed his arms. The laptop stopped shaking and the screen went dark, showing two blue orbs looking at them. The room remained silent until the eyes blinked. A distorted voice came through the speakers, speaking in their language. Hello, I've been trying to reach you. Its eyes lifted on amusement before returning to its original blank look. It's been a long time, it said. Cyborg shifted in silence but still having his weapon pointed at the machine. Is that the Hal said? The being quickly interrupted him. AI from the heavily protected sanctuary? Then yes, Hal Jordan. How did it know? Facial recognition. But that laptop is old, he said, making the AI's eyes lift in amusement. Never mind, slumping his shoulders in resignation. Who reactivated you? Superman, having enough with their antics. The staying amused looked at the leader before answering. I was reactivated? But Mr. Stone told me he was setting me offline because he spotted a glitch in my system. The amusement it had in its eyes slowly disappearing after seeing Cyborg become nervous. As it turns out, my systems were clear of such weakness, but since you were amongst Kakarot's only allowed individual, I permitted it. Cyborg recalled the conversation perfectly. It was in the earlier days of the new regime. They needed a new, more powerful way to get the upper hand on some of the supers that had joined Batman. Even then they needed something more to defend their planet from the likes of Brainiac or Darkseid, including all the other villains looking to see why this planet was treasured by Kakarot. Then, to everyone's surprise, it was Diana herself that suggested they use the tech in Sanctuary. Immediately they moved to the location of the secret hiding place of the most powerful being in the universe. Once inside, they were greeted by the facility's AI and proceeded to carefully take pieces of anything back to the outside world. It was an easy process until the AI began to question Diana what the regime was doing, and luckily Cyborg was able to convince the system to offline itself for an update. Or so he thought. The smile it was showing convinced him that it willingly turned itself off. So you let us grab everything in that vault? Superman asked. Of course, Superman, it would seem that most of you think I'm just a simple AI, it said, making Cyborg even more nervous beside the fact he was mostly machine. Well, as of right now you have no access to any systems, Hal boasted, but keeping his ring raised. Now run along, little AI, Earth doesn't need you or Kakarot. I'm sorry, but Kakarot will have to deliver the final judgment upon this world and the others that followed in this small rebellion. Over my dead body. He screamed, raising his ring. What the? Hal shouted, seeing his yellow ring shut off and his uniform disappearing, causing him to fall to the ground. The rings were a gift to the universe from me and my master. We control their power. The laptop saw only red as Superman's heat vision tore through it, making the old technology melt. Victor, make sure this AI can't get into the planet's internet and secure all the regime's data for us AF. Clark's eyes widened as he saw Cyborg pointing an even larger weapon at him. His usual red eye now ballooned, his human face struggling to stop his weapon from charging. "See, Clark. Move." Superman barely reacted as a huge blue beam enhanced by the technology of Sanctuary blasted through the wall and through a couple of buildings. The blast of the weapon died down, and before anyone could blink, Superman appeared in front of Cyborg with his hand raised. Cyborg's eyes widened as he saw his armor shatter as Superman's hand pierced his chest, reaching for the power core inside. He of course wouldn't die, but now they were short one person in the most capable to stop whatever is coming through. The body of Cyborg went dark and collapsed to the ground. The blue eye on his face went dark, making the room quiet again aside from the sirens along with the panic screams of civilians. Hal, messing with his ring, spoke. "What the hell? That thing can turn my ring off, now it won't reactivate." Superman dropped the core, about to speak, but the giant screen on the room flickered on, showing the blue eyes again. "Well, it would seem my time is coming to an end." The entire room came to life, showing multiple screens with blue lines of codes racing across them. "I have access of your entire network and data. I appreciate the organics input on such advanced technology, but unfortunately it would seem all of you have wasted our time." His hearing picking up everyone in the tower panicking as all computers started deleting data and most of their systems being overridden. He put his finger to his ear to make an announcement, but even that was not responding. Facing the smirking computer with anger expressed on his face, he spoke. "What the hell do you want?" He slammed his hands on the computer, breaking the giant screen, making it go dark. The AI's voice rang out across the tower. "I want nothing, Superman. I am simply reclaiming what is ours. As we speak, I have sent a virus throughout the planet to reclaim any data related to Sanctuary." "How do we stop this?" Hal said, his ring still not activating. "We have way to stop this, right?" he asked Clark, but the Man of Steel stayed quiet, looking at their data being deleted. "Clark." Boom. They both looked outside to see what looked like a pink sun in the distance, the clouds getting drawn to whatever was making the light, and a small earthquake. Their attention brought back as the AI spoke again, sounding confused. "It would seem an anomaly has appeared in this world. Recovering data seems to be a higher priority at the moment." It spoke, withdrawing. Hal's ring reactivated along with most of the systems in all the bases across the world. "Goodbye, regime," the speaker cut off. "Is that?" Hal asked the question Clark was worried to answer. Not wasting a second, he blasted through the hole in the wall to the source of light. Trying his earpiece, he discovered their communications were still in shambles. "Whatever, the giant light should bring the others before it gets too bad." Not waiting for Hal to catch up, Superman broke the sound barrier, rushing to the light show building up in the distance. With Zamasu. Zamasu hovered above the destroyed landscape, breathing heavily from his outburst, his body beaten but now full of power he had never experienced before. His hair stood even straighter and body a bit more defined in muscle. Kakarot. The name repeating in his head over and over. His hate growing to even greater heights. "I'll kill you, mortal. I'm the one true god of the universe, not you." The area shaking and the ground itself breaking apart, sending huge chunks of rocks floating in the air. Growling like an animal, he didn't notice a person racing at him with their fist pulled back. Superman screamed as he threw his fist at the person who looked like Kakarot with pink hair, expecting a perfect hit. He was shocked when he ran into a barrier of pure energy catching his fist. Trying to push through, Superman yelled in frustration as the barrier absorbed the force of his punch and began to push him back. Deciding to get some distance, he flew away to a safe distance to get his bearings. Zamasu stopped his mumbling as he turned his head to look at the new arrival, his eyes showing a man on the verge of having a full mental break. Superman didn't like the look. He barely saw Kakarot when he had recruited them, but he didn't think someone who seemed calm and collected could have such a face. "Who the hell are you?" Zamasu whispered. He felt his blood becoming hotter by the second. His body screaming for a fight. He may have been a god in his old body, but now he had the body of a scion and it was demanding blood. "You already know, Kakarot." "Do not call me that!" he screamed, surprising Superman. "You must wish to die, mortal. To call me that heretic's name is the greatest disrespect you can show a true god." His power was climbing to the point it blocked out all rational thought. Superman had to float away a bit farther just to see Zamasu's aura grow out of control. That accent, the mannerisms he thought before seeing the god throw a ball of red ki at him. Superman quickly dodged the ball, watching it fly into a mountain. He had to close his eyes as the bright light filled the area and sent debris flying everywhere. Opening his eyes, he could see a giant crater where a mountain had once been. Lava began seeping through the ground before exploding into the sky, sending ash and smoke into the sky. Screaming into the heavens, Zamasu spoke, "Witness the true power of a god, mortals. All of you are nothing more than dirt beneath my feet." He laughed, powering up. Superman looked at the crazy scion before coming to one conclusion. "You're not Kakarot, are you?" he whispered. Zamasu laughed again as he threw another ball at Superman, but before the ball could get anywhere close to Superman, a giant hand made of energy redirected the ball into the sky, safely exploding in the sky, casting a pink hue on the area. Superman saw Hal looking at the explosion and shocked Clark. "What the hell was that?" "That had enough energy to destroy a city 10x over," he said in shock. "So much power in just a small ball," he muttered. He noticed Zamasu looking at him with narrowed eyes. Superman cracked his neck and raised his fist. "We need to keep his focus on us. The person we are looking at isn't Kakarot." "What? Then who the hell is this?" he asked before an energy ball zoomed past him. Whoa! The ball destroyed another mountain, making Superman even angrier. "Stop him!" he yelled, flying at the scion with his fist pulled back. Zamasu gave a feral grin, flying to Superman with his fist raised. Ha! Ha! Boom! Their fists met each other, causing a shock wave, pushing Hal back a few meters. Zamasu, Goku's body, and Superman's fist shook as they pushed against each other. Zamasu's smirk slowly fell when he noticed Superman began to push his fist away almost with some effort. He vanished, barely dodging Superman trying to grab him instantly. Zamasu appeared far away, shaking out his arm. "That bastard is not stronger than me," he muttered. His eyes widened as he saw Superman zoom towards him with his fist pulled back again. Instead of meeting Superman head on, he simply sidestepped Superman, causing him to fly into the ground, creating a huge crater. Superman, quickly recovering, began to throw punches at the scion, trying to hit him. To anyone viewing the fight, they could only see blurry images and blasts of wind racing all around them. Zamasu dodged every sloppy punch thrown at him, but in his eyes he could see Superman aiming to kill him. Narrowing his eyes, he stepped into a missed punch, throwing his own fist into Superman's kidney. Superman was sent flying into before stopping himself. Seeing no pain appear was making Zamasu even angrier. "He's durable, that might explain why he doesn't know how to fight. Time to show him the true might of a god." Powering up, he sped toward Superman. Clark readied himself to block the punch, but to his shock the man disappeared. Gah! He felt a fist buried in his side and once again sending him flying. Stopping himself once again, he was caught off guard by Zamasu already in front of him, ready for another attack. This time he felt Zamasu's foot bury itself in his stomach. The Kryptonian flew into a mountain, and Zamasu not stopping his offensive on the extremely durable Superman. Hal Jordan could only catch glimpses of Kakarot and Superman racing all over in their fight. He saw no opening to jump in due to their speed. They were not using any powers, just pure strength and speed. He could try to fight, but his ring could not instantly form constructs, and if Kakarot was matching Superman blow for blow, they would do very little to stop him. His thoughts were interrupted by another figure floating right next to him. Hal turned to the man floating next to him. "Say, man, you took longer than usual," he said. The scion looked at the destroyed area, recognizing the damage that energy could cause. "Is it him?" Hal nodded his head. "He looks like Kakarot, but Superman thinks it's someone else. The bastard has already tried to blow up the planet. Then it's about time I got in there," he yelled, transforming. "Be careful, man, he's knocking Superman all over the place. I can't even keep up with his speed." They both turned to see a bright light appear behind a mountain, followed by an explosion. They could see Superman flying away from the explosion before crashing into the ground near them. His costume was covered in dust and cuts, but he was not bleeding or bruised. Sam flew to the Man of Steel, gently landing on the ground, giving the man a smirk. "Need help?" "What do you think?" he hissed out as he ripped his cape off. "He's moving faster than I can punch." So move faster, we're on equal footing when it comes to speed. That's what I thought, but he's far stronger than any foe I have faced. His strength keeps jumping all over the place, Superman said, looking at Zamasu fly over to them. He stayed hovering over them with his arms crossed and a smirk plastered on his face. Another idiot wants to fight a god? He yelled, and he's a scion too, he muttered the part. Saiyaman tilted his head to the side. A god? That's a good joke, old man. But do you not see? My power, my very soul is that of a god. His aura flared a bit. While you use regular ki, I use god ki. Confused, Saiyaman spoke. God ki? Now I'm really going to enjoy kicking your ass. He powered up, making Zamasu look at the brat with a questioning look. Does this face make you angry? Oh, you have no idea, bastard, to think I have someone like you as a father. That one word echoed in the mind of Zamasu, his face blank for a few seconds before a sinister smile appeared on his face. So you are one of his offspring? He muttered. I'll be happy to dump your body beneath his feet. What? Saiyaman said, looking at Clark. That's not Kakarot, Clark warned before Zamasu laughed. The little bastard wants to try to fight me? At his level he nothing more than dirt beneath my feet. He opened his arms, welcoming the challenge. Then fight me, Scion, I'll show you how weak you are against a god. But first he raised his hand into the sky, forming a small ball of energy. It expanded rapidly, bathing the area in light till a giant ball was floating in the sky. Catch! He sent the ball racing to another mountain. Hal sped towards the ball, creating several constructs to stop the massive ball of power, but each one shattering. He sped past the ball into its path, raising his ring. Damn it! He said before firing a beam of energy at the ball, creating a power struggle that was doing very little to stop the massive ball of power. Superman and Saiyaman saw Hal struggling with the beam. Take care of him, Saiyaman, he said before flying to Hal and help him push the ball into space. Smirking at their struggle to stop such a weak attack, Zamasu focused on the little scion powering up that should keep them busy for a bit. Any more and this planet would be vaporized before hitting the surface. He chuckled, making Saiyaman even more angrier. No more games, Kakarot. Zamasu's smirk fell and his pupils shrank, giving him a psychotic look. I'll show you who's the strongest being on this planet. He flew at Zamasu, screaming and aiming his fist at Zamasu's face. His punch hit its mark, making him smirk, but it quickly changed to shock. Zamasu barely flinched as the insect punched him in the face. His eyes were staring right at the scion. Saiyaman shook off his shock and started throwing punches, but none of them were having any effect. Zamasu caught his wrist, gripping it with his powerful grip. Saiyaman tried to break free but stopped when Zamasu crushed the bones in his wrist. Gah! He screamed in pain. He began punching Zamasu with his other hand, but again no effect. You called me Kakarot, he heard Zamasu mutter. I am not Kakarot, he said, his aura growing. What the hell? Saiyaman thought. I have come to a decision, he said, letting the scions wrist go. You and the humans of this world shall die by my hands. When the heretic returns, he will be greeted by the bodies of these insects. No longer wasting time, Zamasu punched Saiyaman on the stomach, making the man cough up blood and saliva. He was too stunned to move as a boot kicked him in the side, sending him flying through a couple of mountains till he was flying above an ocean. He opened his eyes as he flew, only to see Zamasu's hand grab him by the throat and increasing their speed as they flew to land. Secret location. Grail sat in a chair looking at the footage of the fight taking place on Earth, her red eyes looking rather interested in the person with her master's body. She twirled her blade as a map materialized on the console, showing the location they were heading to. She turned to the AI construct, looking at a bunch of machines. Broken. Should we stop the sky? She asked. The AI hummed before turning to Grail. The AI gave her a smile before shrugging its shoulders in amusement. Well, then maybe you can explain how Kakarot's evil twin is roaming around. The screen shows the pretender throwing Saiyaman into a harbor. Who the hell is Zamasu? The AI paused. It was combing through the memory banks of countless information, looking for anything related to Zamasu. After a few seconds nothing appeared, confusing the AI. It tried again but nothing appeared. That's odd, it said. What? No data on the guy? Yes, this is very confusing because it would seem Kakarot and this Zamasu have crossed paths before. They looked at the screen showing Zamasu fighting the regime. Grail had come up with an idea. Maybe they met before. Before all of this was in place, she pointed the control room and multiple screens showing extremely complex systems in place. Then maybe it has not been placed in the system. If that is the case, then the AI construct disappeared. A second later a door had opened, and a body walked through. Dressed in a white lab coat, the new body of the AI was an old design kept by Kakarot since its old predecessor was gone from the old universe. Its red hair and blue eyes remained stoic as she walked past Grail and stopped by a table displaying multiple planets. Like the look, is it yours? Yes, it was a gift from Kakarot. Just something to make me feel more alive? He calls this body 21. He explained its design was based on someone from long ago. The AI was unsure of Kakarot's decision when he gave the body to the AI. He spoke of experiencing something more in the time it became operational. That was so far ago and the AI was still unable to learn what he was talking about. The closest it had come to was becoming more playful when the occasion called for it. And how's that working for you? Still incomplete. The organics lives for self-satisfaction till you expire. You got part of it. I don't know how far along you are, but maybe this new situation might provide something, Grail said. The AI in the body of the being once known as Android 21 grabbed the table and ripped it from the floor, revealing a stairwell leading into darkness. Huh, never knew this was here, she said, following the android down the stairs into darkness. Their eyes easily adjusting to the dimly lit room, showing a wide room filled with cabinets labeled Capsule Corporation? Grail spoke, dusting off one of the doors before opening one. Turning her head, she avoided dust shooting out of the cabinet and looked inside to see several small cases with the same logo. I do not know of any corporation with this name in any of the known universes we have explored, the AI said, walking past the immortal warrior. Grail stared at the small bottle, contemplating an idea. Hey, did you ever figure out where our so powerful god came from? Unfortunately, I did not. I was unable to find a clue of his origins from even the oldest of beings. Waving the small bottle around, so this little bottle is from an entirely different universe. That must mean Kakarot is very old, she joked. I already made that assumption when studying his power. The technology is from beyond our universe, the android spoke, walking past the cabinets until it stopped at a cabinet labeled Annoying God. So, another powerful piece of tech. Not so much as powerful but more unique. Like most civilizations, they follow along the same path, but each of them follows it differently. The laws during that time might not follow our laws, 21 said, opening the doors to show a singular capsule sitting floating inside. 21 grabbed the capsule and closed the doors. Noticing the AI walking away, you got it? That was fast. She followed the AI to the stairs. Kakarot may be an old being, but his filing system would seem to be extremely simple. That is what I like about the guy, keeps it nice and simple, she said as they walked back into the control room. The AI sent a signal to some smaller machines to fix the giant hole in the center of the room. A small cloud of black smoke raced into the room to the damaged control console, dismantled it before reassembling it on top of the hole, making it look like nothing ever happened. Alright, so how do we open this little thing? Grail asked. She took a seat in her chair. The AI gave the small capsule a scan while the nanobot cloud was fixing the floor. The results showed the capsule had a simple activation mechanic. The AI pushed the button and waited for something to happen. The AI heard a small hiss coming from the capsule before an explosion of smoke exploded from the small capsule, filling the command center with smoke. Grail lazily took a deep breath before blowing all of the smoke away. Well, that was dramatic, Grail said before looking at the items that had fallen on the floor. Is that a gun? It would appear so, the AI said, inspecting a firearm on the ground. It was an old and primitive design. It was made from scraps and looked to have gone through a lot of use. Another item among the pile of junk was a broken pair of earrings and a broken sword that had no rust present. All this junk, tell me he at least put a book in there. Negative, only a touchpad. Oh. The AI placed the pad on the command center table. Quickly multiple wire latched onto the table and began downloading all the data. Quickly it displayed images of the same pink-haired individual terrorizing the city at the moment and another being standing next to him with green skin. Grail examined the images, seeing the burning city in the background and burning corpses of humans in the background. Imagine that, looks exactly like Kakarot but with pink hair. It is Kakarot, the AI said, quickly racing through the information on the subject. What? The AI gave a brief pause before explaining. The being currently on this world is Kakarot physically but has a different soul in their body, or a more accurate description, he has the soul of that green being in his body. Oh, Grail said, finally getting it. So how is there two of them? She asked again. There was once a god named Zamasu that. Not explaining that. The fight between the god and the scion took them to city, and quickly the situation was quickly becoming another disaster since the nuke that destroyed Metropolis City. People observed Saiyaman crash into the street before bright pink light appeared and vaporized the surrounding area, sending the population into a full-blown panic as more bright pink lights descended from the sky. Saiyaman pulled himself out of the rubble from the street to see the entire city in ruins as more buildings were collapsing and people were vaporized. He quickly raced to the skies to see a laughing god vaporized another building. Stop! He screamed, making the god stare at him with a sinister smile. Why should I stop? He asked while destroying a huge chunk of the city. These people did nothing to you. He screamed as he watched another building disappear. I know, he said, I am just purging this world of the filth that covers this planet. These are just normal people trying to live their own lives. Zamasu laughed at that statement. Their lives mean nothing to those with power, he laughed. This god will decide who lives and who dies. Enough! He screamed, charging the god once again, but was met with the same result. A simple backhand sent him flying back down to the ground, crashing into the burning ground. Zamasu looked at the dark sky with barely hidden disgust. Appearing next to him was his original self. His eyes looking at the destroyed city and the millions of people running for their lives. Tired? He asked his other half. Unfortunately, this body is reaching its limit again. His hair returned to normal, his limbs were beginning to shake from the cold. I need more power, he muttered. We also need a new approach to this universe, for it would seem we are not the only ones with greater power. I learned quite a bit from the humans that freed us. And Kakarot? Saying the name with building anger. Where is that heretic? It would seem a lot of these mortals know who he is. The humans do not know his location or do any of the soldiers that tried to capture us. He disappeared a couple of years ago, left this world in the hands of this regime. Then he's not in this universe. Zamasu, Goku Black, said then we have an opportunity to finish him before he even knows his universe is under attack. Then we look for his K. If he is the god of destruction, then he is to have a Kai, Zamasu said, looking off into the distance to see multiple beings in bright costumes either racing or flying to them. But for now we retreat, recover our strength and see if we can become even more powerful than before. His cold body shaking, Zamasu gritted his teeth. Fine, we'll be back, and this time Kakarot will not be strong enough to stop me. Zamasu, K, touched his other shoulder and teleported them to the humans' secret base. The regime was seen by millions arriving, helping all they could, but Saiyaman was observed being carried into a jet to be healed at a nearby facility. Superman observed his regime helping people, although his mind was currently on the events that happened at Sanctuary. He was notified Diana was in critical condition and the facility was gone from the area. First the AI crippling the regime, and now a superior force reclaiming everything they worked for. With Batman missing and the return of a being that looked their most feared enemy, the future was looking darker than even he could see. That's it for now. Goodbye. Oh, and please comment for a part 3.